Heartbroken CEO's maid becomes his fake girlfriend, but the shocking truth will break you. In a world that thrives on deception, nothing is quite as twisted as the story of Ethan Blake, the heartbroken CEO with everything to lose. His once glamorous life turned upside down when betrayal ripped through his carefully curated facade. The spark of scandal ignited the moment he hired Marissa, an unassuming maid with sharp eyes and an uncanny knack for blending in. What was a job quickly morphed into an elaborate charade, a deceitful twist of fate that promised a chance at redemption but could just as easily lead to disaster. When she stepped into his lavish office, dust motes swirling in her wake, something clicked. The tension simmered between them like a pot about to boil over. Marissa was no ordinary maid. Anyone could see that. Whispers filled the air, every glance laden with unspoken words. Is she really just a maid? They wondered, and as eyes lingered, the air thickened with a strange mixture of curiosity and doubt. Later that week, he stood before a boardroom filled with investors, and the thought of his new girlfriend tugged at him like an unshakable ghost. The next day, she walked into his penthouse, mismatched in his world of luxury yet strangely comforting. As she picked up a stray shirt from the marble floor, he caught the glimmer in her eye. A secret? Or something darker? The days turned into nights filled with rehearsed laughter and played romance, but no one could articulate the looming danger. Marissa's smile, although charming, held shadows that darted just beneath the surface. Ethan felt a tightening in his chest. Was it affection or fear? Each meeting felt electric, charged with anticipation. Tensions escalated, with half-formed words dancing between them, heavy with unsaid truths. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But as the clock ticked on their peculiar arrangement, disturbing truths lurked around every corner. One evening, shadows fell across Ethan's path as he dug deeper into Marissa's past, unearthing secrets that threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew. Just as he was on the brink of a revelation, a suffocating silence fell. A bruising knock echoed through the halls, followed by a voice cutting through the darkness. Ethan, we need to talk. Panic gripped him. Who was this unexpected visitor? The weight of revelation hung heavily in the air, setting the stage for a storm about to break. What would the truth reveal? Could it tear apart his carefully built life? Each moment surged with urgency, pulling you closer to the edge of chaos. Where would the next twist lead? Ethan's heart raced as he opened the door, revealing a tall figure cloaked in a dark coat. The familiar face of his best friend, Jack, slipped into view, but the urgency in Jack's eyes felt alien, almost sinister. Ethan, we have a problem, Jack said, stepping over the threshold, his tone low and serious. The door swung shut with a click, sealing off the rest of the world. The apartment felt smaller, the air heavier. Ethan leaned against the wall, arms crossed in a defensive posture. What kind of problem? Jack hesitated, glancing around, as if checking for unseen listeners. It's about Marissa. The name sent a shock wave through Ethan. Every part of him wanted to deny it, to cling to the comforting delusion that their charade was harmless. What are you talking about? She's not who you think she is, Jack whispered, his voice barely above a murmur. I've been doing some digging. You remember that scandal last year? The one involving a string of thefts across the city? Ethan nodded, dread pooling in his gut. Yeah, what does that have to do with Marissa? Look, just trust me, Jack urged. She was involved. She went deep underground after the whole thing. It's rumored she's got connections to some dangerous people. A cold chill washed over Ethan, his mind racing with the implications. Was Marissa some sort of criminal mastermind, hiding behind a mop and uniform? He thought of her soft laughter, the way her eyes sparkled when she smiled. The contrast between that image and what Jack was suggesting felt like a slap in the face. "You've got to be mistaken. She's just a maid." "Or a meticulously crafted facade," Jack replied, urgency vibrating in his voice. "If we're not careful, you could get dragged into something you can't escape from." An icy wave of fear washed over Ethan. The weight of his own naivety pressed down on him like a lead blanket. Tension built inside his chest, filling him with an overwhelming need for answers. "Where's the proof?" Jack fished out his phone, typing quickly before pressing it into Ethan's shaking hands. "Here, look for yourself." Ethan's eyes scanned the screen, a mix of disbelief and horror creeping in. Photos of Marissa, tangled with unsavory characters in dingy bars, all but screamed at him. They were the stark evidence he never wanted to see. The room around him began to fade, the opulence of his home now feeling like a gilded cage. "I need to confront her," Ethan finally said, his heart thundering in his chest. "Are you insane? What if you're wrong?" Jack warned, voice raw with concern. "You could be putting yourself in real danger." But danger had become an intoxicating allure, and the thrill of uncertainty washed over Ethan like a drug he couldn't resist. The notion that everything he had built could be a lie ignited a righteous fury inside him. Taking a deep breath, he squared his shoulders. "I need to know the truth." Jack looked torn, but there was no stopping Ethan now. As he stepped toward the bedroom where Marissa was, thoughts collided within him. Was she truly a con artist, or was she trapped in a world she wanted to escape? And what did they want from him exactly? He could hear Marissa humming softly, an innocent sound in stark contrast to the revelation dawning over him like a storm cloud. The door lay just ahead, and with every step forward, his pulse quickened. What kind of truth awaited him on the other side? Would he emerge with answers, or would he fall into a deeper web of lies? He reached for the doorknob, heart hammering, knowing that whatever lay within could change everything. Just as his fingers curled around the cold metal, the weight of his choice hung in the air. Would he take the plunge? Would he confront the woman who turned his world upside down? His heart raced, muscles tense, adrenaline flooding his veins. What he would learn next could dismantle the fragile peace, or shatter him entirely. Ethan turned the doorknob slowly, his breath caught in his throat. Time seemed to stretch as the door creaked open, the soft glow of the lamp spilling into the dimly lit bedroom. Marissa stood near the window, her back to him, pulling the curtain tight against the cool night air. The gentle sway of her body, the way her hair caught the light, made his heart ache with confusion. How could someone so beautiful harbor such darkness? "Marissa?" he called out, his voice unsteady. She turned, surprise painting her face as she noticed him standing there, tension radiating from every pore in his being. "Ethan. Hey, I thought you'd be out late." Her smile faltered, caught in the moment as she sensed something was wrong. He felt like he was walking a tightrope, one step could send him plunging into an abyss. "We need to talk," he said, forcing the words through the tightness in his chest. Her brow furrowed, the playful light in her eyes dimming. "About what? Is everything okay?" "No, everything is not okay," he shot back, feeling his resolve harden. "I know about your past, Marissa. I know who you really are." The air shifted, tension snapping like a taut string. Marissa's expression morphed from confusion to shock and then, unexpectedly, to anger. "What are you talking about?" "Ethan, this is ridiculous." "Jack told me everything," he pressed, a surge of desperation fueling his words. "You were involved in those thefts. You've been lying to me this whole time." Marissa took a step back, the hurt in her eyes stark. "You think I'm some criminal? You believe that over me?" "I don't know what to believe." Ethan raged, anguish flaring alongside the anger. "Those pictures don't lie. What was I supposed to think? Have you been deceiving me this whole time?" "Ethan, please," she whispered, her voice trembling as she fought back tears. "There's so much you don't know. If you just let me explain." "Explain what?" How you tricked me. He interrupted, the darkness swirling within him. How could you betray me like this? With a flash of defiance, she stepped forward, closing the distance between them. You need to listen. I didn't choose this life. Her eyes sparkled with fierce desperation, raw and unpolished. I've been trying to escape it, but it's complicated. They're dangerous, Ethan. He felt his chest tighten, battling his instinct to pull away. Who are they? I can't say, not now, she implored, her voice dropping to a whisper. But I wanted to protect you. If they find out I told you, it could put you in danger. A heavy silence settled like a fog, wrapping around them, stifling any logical thought. Ethan's mind screamed for answers, but all he could see was the pain etched across Marissa's face. Why should I trust you? He demanded, every word laced with both fear and uncertainty. Because I love you, she said, a shield and an olive branch all at once. Those words hung in the air, simple yet fraught with implications. Love? He echoed, not ready to grapple with the weight of her confession. You want me to believe that after everything? I've risked everything for you, she replied, her eyes insane with emotion. I was going to leave. But then I fell for you, Ethan. You gave me hope. The truth washed over him in waves, he felt exposed, torn between what he wanted to believe and the evidence smothering him. He could see it now, the glimmers of fear behind her bravado, a broken spirit desperately trying to escape. Help me, she pleaded, voice trembling. If you really care about me, help me get out of this mess. Each nerve pulsed, each heartbeat echoed with uncertainty. What had seemed like a straightforward confrontation now stood before him, tangled with unexpected emotions. Could he step into this chaotic world alongside her? Would he risk everything for a woman he hardly knew? Where would a path forward lead them, if he dared to trust her? Confusion swirled within, a storm brewing as he weighed his next move. The decisions before him felt monumental, altering not just their lives, but his very identity. Before he could respond, the soft ringing of his phone interrupted the tension, the sound cutting through the room like a knife. It was Jack again. Ethan, you need to get out of there. Now. As he answered, fear knotted in his stomach. What new danger lurked just beyond the fragile safety of these walls? The walls echoed with unspoken questions, and the reality of their situation loomed closer. Would they uncover a world of deception and violence together, or would this be the end of everything they had built? Ethan's heart raced as he held the phone to his ear, Jack's urgent voice slicing through the thick tension like a jagged blade. Ethan, I mean it. You have to leave right now. They know you're there. Marissa's eyes widened, panic flaring. Who knows? What are you talking about? Just trust me. It's not safe. Jack cried out, his voice strained. Please, this isn't a joke. He glanced back at Marissa, her face pale but fierce. I can't just leave her here. He blurted, the instinct to protect surging through him, even against the backdrop of his chaos. Ethan, think. If they've tracked her, they'll find you, too. Get out now, or you could both end up in serious trouble, Jack insisted. Silence crashed down around them as Ethan absorbed Jack's words. He felt the walls of reality squeezing in, suffocating him. His breath came in sharp gasps as his mind raced. Who were they and how much did they know? Marissa took a step closer, her expression frantic. Ethan, please don't listen to him. This isn't just about me anymore. I can't go back to them. I thought I'd escaped. I thought we had something real. Doubt clawed at his insides. Was their connection strong enough to survive this storm? A life of chaos against the simplicity of love, a choice felt impossible. What if Ethan hesitated, weighing the gravity of the situation? What if you went with me? Is that even possible? Marissa's eyes darted to the window, shadows fluttering against the glass. We can't risk everything. They'd catch us. They find you, you don't understand the reach they have. They've already found you. I need to know everything. He felt the air grow heavier between them. The shimmering threads of trust began to fray. She stepped back, intensity flickering like a candle about to blow out. If I tell you and you're caught, they'll use you against me. I won't let that happen. Before she could say more, a loud crash echoed from outside, sending a shockwave through the room. The sound resonated like an alarm bell echoing in his mind. Ethan's heart pounded wildly as he glanced toward the noise, dread clawing at his chest. What was that? Marissa moved instinctively, darting to the window. The moonlight cut through the darkness, revealing shadows shifting in the alley below. Ethan's stomach churned as he realized these weren't just figments of his imagination, someone was out there. Ethan. Marissa hissed, urgency in her voice. We need to move. Now. He grabbed her hand, the coldness biting into them as he pulled her toward the door. They rushed into the hallway, every creak of the floorboards echoing like thunder in their ears. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to run, yet the conflicting emotions kept dragging them back. The corridor felt endless, walls closing in, like a trap being set around them. Do you really want me in this? He asked, breathless. Do you trust me? Her gaze held his, a mixture of fear, vulnerability, and determination that twisted something deep inside him. I don't know, but I can't let them win. Not again. They reached the stairs, the wood splintering beneath their hurried steps. With every beat of his heart, he could feel danger lurking just behind them. As they reached the ground floor, an ominous figure loomed at the entrance, silhouetted against the streetlights, an agent of the shadowy threat that had taken over Marissa's past. Ethan. Marissa. The figure called out, the voice mocking, chilling. Where do you think you're going? Ethan's stomach dropped. This was at the moment of truth. Would they turn back to fight the darkness together, or run into the night, hoping against hope to escape? Behind them, more shadows moved, closing in around them. Run! Ethan shouted, adrenaline flooding his veins. They bolted toward the back exit, their breaths coming in frantic gasps, the sound of pursuit echoing in their ears. With the weight of the world on their shoulders, they broke free into the night. As they stumbled into the cold air, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they had just plunged headfirst into something far darker than either of them could grasp, and as they made their way through the alley, one thought loomed over them: what would they discover about the danger stalking them in the shadows? Would they survive long enough to confront the demons of the past? But little did they know it was only the beginning. Ethan and Marissa plunged into the darkness, the chill of the night wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. They sprinted through the alley, breathless and wide-eyed, their fingers intertwined as if that single connection could shield them from the horrors behind. The crunch of gravel underfoot mingled with the distant, sharp sounds of pursuit. Pulse racing, Ethan looked back, the shadows shifting like predators hungry for prey. Just keep running. Marissa urged, her voice steady despite the fear that flickered behind her eyes. The streetlights glowed dimly ahead, a flickering beacon of salvation, but salvation felt unreachable. Each pounding footstep echoed in his mind, a reminder of the danger hot on their trail. Had Jack's frantic warnings come too late? What kind of power did they wield that could track them so easily? As they reached the end of the alley, Ethan spotted a rundown bar. Its neon sign buzzed faintly, flickering like it was about to give up. In there! He shouted, pulling Marissa toward the door just as he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps closing in. Inside the bar, a thick haze of cigarette smoke and spilled beer mingled in the air, wrapping around them like a fog. The few patrons inside barely glanced their way, lost in their own worlds. It felt like a sanctuary, but for how long? Where do we hide? Marissa gasped, urgency clawing at her voice. Ethan glanced around, his mind racing. There. He pointed to a small storage room at the back, its door ajar, shadows dancing inside. They slipped in, squeezing between the door and the rickety shelves stacked with old boxes and forgotten memories. The scent of must and stale beer was overpowering, but they had no choice. This was their only chance. As they huddled together, hearts pounding in unison, Ethan felt the adrenaline begin to dull, replaced by an anxious tension. The world outside faded, but the weight of the moment pressed heavily on his chest. "Marissa, please," he murmured, feeling the swell of emotions threatening to overflow. "You need to tell me what is going on." She stared at him, desperation written across her features. "I can't. If I do, it might put you in danger. You wouldn't understand." Ethan clenched his jaw, frustration mingling with fear. "Try me. I'd rather know the truth than be left in the dark. We're in this together now." A distant burst of laughter pierced through the door, followed by a loud voice shouting orders. Time was running out. Marissa's eyes widened, and in that fleeting moment, he saw hesitation. "Fine," she whispered, her voice trembling. "But you have to promise me you'll stay close and listen. They want both of us back. They need me for something huge. I thought I could outrun it. I was wrong." His heart plummeted. "What do you mean? What do they want from you?" Before she could answer, the door creaked open, and they froze, bodies pressing tight against the shelves. A shadow fell across the room, and Ethan held his breath, praying they wouldn't be discovered. "Search everywhere." A voice called from the faint light. "They can't have gone far." The tension was palpable, a coil ready to snap. Marissa's grip tightened around his hand, the warmth grounding him just as fear threatened to take hold. The footsteps lingered, closing in on them. Just when Ethan thought all hope was lost, a turbulent crash erupted from the front of the bar, followed by shouts and confusion. The figure at the door was momentarily distracted, and they both dared to exhale, clinging to a tiny whisper of hope. "What did you get yourself into, Marissa?" Ethan whispered, tension spilling from every pore, but he didn't know the answer she would reveal would change everything, and challenge everything they fought to protect. Just outside the storage room, a struggle ensued, voices blurring into chaos. The door swung shut, creating a heavy silence, and in that moment, Ethan realized they weren't just fighting for their lives. They were about to uncover a dark truth that could shatter everything they thought they knew. The silence in the storage room felt like a vacuum, sucking away any hope they had left. Ethan's heart raced. It was thudding so hard against his ribs he thought it might break free. Marissa's face was pale, her eyes wide as they stared at the door. "I'm starting to wish we'd never come here," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan shot her a look, trying to keep fear from lacing his tone. "We can't think like that. Focus. What do we do next?" Just as he spoke, the chaos outside crescendoed. The booming sound of heavy footsteps echoed throughout the bar, booted figures smashing against tables and shouting for them to come out. "Get ready," Marissa murmured, her gaze intense as she squeezed Ethan's hand tighter. "When they come through that door, we have to fight." "Fight? You think we can take them?" Panic tightened his chest. "I don't know, but we can't just wait to be caught. You need to trust me." His mind felt foggy. Trust? How could he trust her when the shadows of their pursuers loomed just beyond the door? Yet he found himself nodding. He couldn't let fear paralyze him. The footsteps grew louder, closer. A booming voice from just outside sent a chill down his spine. "They're in here. I can feel it. Keep searching." Ethan met Marissa's gaze as they both braced for what was coming. The door rattled slightly. Their hiding place was not as hidden as they had hoped. The door burst open, revealing nothing but a darkened entryway. The looming outline of a figure hesitated, scanning for any sign of life. They held their breath, shifting slightly back against the shelves to avoid detection. The intruder took a step closer, casting a shadow that blocked out the meager light from the bar's neon glow. "Simon, they wouldn't just disappear. Look in every corner." A second voice joined the first, and panic surged through Ethan's veins. Then, as if struck by lightning, a noise jolted Ethan's senses. A sharp sound like shattering glass rang out from the main bar area, drawing the attention of the man just outside. He turned abruptly. What was that? Marissa shot him a look of urgency. We need to move now. Ethan nodded, adrenaline flooding his system. They both pushed against the shelves, inching back toward the door. Every heartbeat was a countdown. Would they make it out before the shadows returned? As they slipped into the main bar area, they ducked low, hiding behind a large booth. Voices buzzed with confusion while the bar's neon lights flickered more violently, casting eerie glow patterns across the walls. We've got to get behind the bar, Marissa urged, her voice a mere breath. Ethan glanced around, weighing their options. There are too many of them. What's our plan? Trust me, I know the layout. She said, her eyes darting around, searching for exits. Just follow me, okay? His trust was wavering, but desperation pressed him forward. They crawled across the floor, staying low beneath the booths. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and every step felt like a gamble. Suddenly, the bar door flew open again, a group of rugged men storming in. The patrons turned, startled, and the atmosphere switched from confused chatter to gut-wrenching fear. Ethan's pulse raced as he felt Marissa's grip loosen slightly. She whispered hurriedly, we need a distraction, something big. His eyes darted towards the bar, where a couple of rowdy guys were still drinking and loud. An idea sparked in his mind. Stay here, he said, taking a deep breath before springing up, knocking over some glasses and shouting. Would you guys shut up? The bar went momentarily silent as all eyes turned to him. The men searching for them froze, and then laughter erupted from the drunken patrons. Ethan squinted through the chaos and caught Marissa's gaze. She didn't look convinced. Are you crazy? She mouthed, horrified. Before she could voice her fears, more blows from the bar rang out. A fight had broken out, adding a new layer of confusion. A chaos erupted, and when Ethan looked back to find Marissa, she was gone. His stomach dropped. Marissa? A wave of adrenaline swept over him. Where had she gone? His pulse raced as panic clawed at his throat. He needed to find her. The truth still lay heavy in the air, and now he had no idea if he'd ever uncover it. As he pushed through the chaos, his heart screamed the question, would they find each other again, or had the shadows finally consumed them both? The crowd erupted, shoving and shouting as the chaos spun into a whirlwind of limbs and voices. Ethan's gaze darted wildly, desperately trying to catch sight of Marissa's familiar silhouette, but the dim lighting and frantic movement swallowed her up, leaving him adrift in a sea of panic. He felt raw fear clawing at his insides. Marissa! He yelled, his voice barely cutting through the din. The bar felt alive, vibrating with lifeblood and danger. He had to find her. He could not let the shadows take her. Pushing forward with determination, he stumbled through the throng of frightened patrons. A burly man collided with him, knocking Ethan against a table. Glasses rattled precariously, and Ethan's heart pounded with each second. Get out of the way! He shouted, trying to stay upright. The rugged men seeking them were still around, their voices rising above the impending chaos. Each shout echoed like a death knell in Ethan's mind. The bar was like a pressure cooker, ready to explode, and he was stuck in the middle. Then, he spotted her, a flash of dark hair behind the bar. Marissa! He surged forward with renewed energy, weaving through the chaos until he reached the edge of the bar. As he turned the corner, his heart sank. She was there, but she was crouched low, peering over the countertop as panic danced across her features. Just when he thought they could regroup, one of the men stepped toward her, eyes gleaming with malice. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to act. He hurled himself over the bar, adrenaline blazing as he pushed her down behind the bar with him. What are you doing? She whispered fiercely, eyes wide with disbelief. Protecting you. He gasped back, heart racing as they hid together, breaths heavy in the brief moment of stillness. Look! They're coming! She pointed to a group of men advancing through the crowd, their eyes scanning for targets, wild with a hunt. Ethan cursed under his breath. We need to distract them again. But how? Then, he remembered a nearby glass keg, half full and foaming. He glanced at Marissa, her expression calculating. On 3, he whispered. She nodded, understanding the plan. 1, 2, 3. They both lunged towards the keg, sending it tumbling against a nearby wall. The explosion of glass and liquid sprayed chaotic beer everywhere, soaking the floor in a frothy mess. Yells of surprise erupted, and several of the men stumbled, slipping in the puddle. Go! Now! Marissa shouted, grabbing his hand as they darted through the opening in the panicked crowd. Together, they sprinted down a narrow hallway leading deeper into the bar, far from the chaos. They stumbled into a dimly lit storage room, the pungent scent of stale beer and dust surrounding them. Ethan leaned against the wall, breathless but relieved. We made it, he said, but the relief was short-lived. Marissa's expression was distant. This isn't over, Ethan. They're still after us. We have to find a way out. Suddenly, a loud crash rattled the door behind them. Panic surged back into Ethan's veins. They weren't safe yet. What do we do? He said, searching her face for answers. Her eyes flickered, fear mixed with determination. We have to find the back exit. There's always a way out in these places. But I don't know if we can get there without being seen. The door slammed again, more violently. They were running out of time. Let us make a break for it, Ethan urged, gripping her shoulder. On my count. Marissa nodded, resolutely. They both listened as the noise outside grew deafening, the chaos intensifying. Suddenly, the door creaked ominously. Ethan's heart stopped. What's that? Marissa whispered, her eyes wide. Stay behind me, Ethan said, stepping forward, ready to confront whatever dangers lay ahead. But before he could react, the door burst open. A figure loomed in the doorway, silhouetted by the harsh light. Well, what do we have here? The voice dripped with malice, making Ethan's blood run cold. And just like that, all his hopes crumbled. This was it, the scene shifted, a revelation that could shatter everything he believed. Would they be dragged back into the shadows from which they had just escaped? Or was there a chance for light in their darkness? Ethan held his breath, waiting for the truth to reveal itself. The figure stepped into the dim storage room, revealing a face Ethan recognized but wished he didn't. It was Jared, the ruthless enforcer and the right hand of the man they were running from. Jared's lips curled into a wicked grin, one that suggested he enjoyed the game far too much. Well, isn't this cozy? He said, eyes flickering from Ethan to Marissa. His sneer deepened. Hiding like rats. You two thought you could escape. TSK. Stay back. Ethan shouted, instinctively positioning himself in front of Marissa, heart pounding as adrenaline surged through him. He needed to protect her, no matter the cost. But Jared just laughed, eyes dancing with malevolence. I'm afraid it's too late for heroes. The boss wants you both back alive or dead, he doesn't care. And trust me, alive isn't likely. He glanced around the room, seeming to savor the moment. You're trapped. The way you came is blocked, and nobody's going to think to look for you here. Ethan's mind raced. A plan and a miracle was needed. But all he saw were the bare walls closing in on them. We're not going anywhere with you. Jared smirked, leaning against a stack of boxes. Oh, I beg to differ. Just as the tension reached a breaking point, a loud crash echoed from the hallway. The door they had escaped through shook violently. The cacophony swallowed up everything, and for a moment, Ethan's heart skipped. What was that? Marissa whispered, fear creeping into her voice. Jared's grin faded as he turned toward the noise, his senses now alert, like a predator sniffing the air. Seems like my backup's arriving. He straightened, casting a glance over his shoulder. But that means you two should really hurry and make a choice. I can make your deaths quick, or you might just want to take a chance at the back exit. He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a hiss. Choose wisely. Ethan looked at Marissa, her eyes pleading, breath shallow. We only have one shot at this. If we go out there, we have to be fast. If we stay well, you heard him. She nodded, resolve hardening her features. We take our chances. Jared raised an eyebrow, clearly enjoying their desperation. Oh, this should be a show worth watching. With one swift movement, Ethan yanked open the back door that led to a narrow alley, a breath of fresh air and danger spilling into the room. He could hear footsteps echoing through the bar, the unmistakable approach of more men. Time was slipping away. Now, he urged, grabbing Marissa's hand as they darted into the unknown. The alley was dark and littered with debris, the air thick with the scent of cheap beer and desperation. Ethan sprinted forward, pulling Marissa along. They needed to reach the street, they needed the light and safety it promised. But then an explosion of noise erupted behind them, shouted commands, the clamor of boots rushing toward the door they had just exited. The part of him that buzzed with primal fear did not want to look back. But as they approached the mouth of the alleyway, Ethan risked a glance. Jared followed, eyes ablaze with manic determination, flanked by two hulking figures emerging out of the shadows like predators closing in on their prey. You won't get far. Jared howled, his voice cutting through the air like a knife. Faster. Marissa urged, her grip tightening on his hand as they neared the street. The horrifying realization hit him then: the entrance of the alley was a trap. A terrible premonition twisted inside him, but there was no time to dwell on that. Ethan surged forward, pulling Marissa with him just as the first of Jared's men barreled out of the alley, shouting. Go! Go! Ethan yelled, pushing Marissa ahead of him as they burst into the blinding light. But as they reached the sidewalk, a powerful force slammed into Ethan from behind, knocking him to the ground. Stars exploded in his vision as he caught a glimpse of Marissa's horrified face before he fell hard. Ethan! She screamed, stricken with fear. The world spun, and he struggled to gather himself, fighting against the pain that shot through him. As he turned his head, he saw the shadow of Jared approaching, a sinister smile creeping across his face. Looks like the game is over. In that moment of despair, a soft voice rang out from the crowd, cutting through the chaos. Stop right there. Ethan's heart raced, hope flickering like a fragile flame. Who could it be? But when the figure stepped forward, it knocked all the air from his lungs. Who do you think you're messing with? The shock on Ethan's face mirrored Marissa's. It was someone he hadn't expected, not in this nightmare. Would this unexpected ally save them or push them deeper into danger? In that split second, everything hung in the balance. Ethan squinted against the blinding sunlight, heart hammering in his chest as he tried to make sense of the figure standing before him. It was Mia, a name that blasted through his mind like thunder. She had once been the office assistant he'd barely noticed, now transformed into an unexpected ally. Dressed in a sleek black outfit that lent her an air of authority, her presence exuded confidence even amid the chaos. Mia? He croaked, momentarily forgetting the danger they were in. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing, she shot back, voice firm as she stepped closer, blocking Jared's advancing shadow. Jared's smile faltered even if his men lacked the same restraint. What's this? The helpless assistant has turned into the knight in shining armor. Cute. Mia didn't flinch. You think you can mess with them? You picked the wrong fight. She pulled a compact device from her pocket, the glint of a badge catching Ethan's eye. Is that? He barely dared to hope as he processed the realization. FBI, she confirmed, her eyes narrowing as she glanced at Jared. You're surrounded. Stand down, or I will personally take you in. A ripple of unrest spread through Jared's men, their confidence wavering in the face of surprise. But Jared stepped forward defiantly. You think you're going to scare me off with a badge? This isn't a schoolyard. You're outnumbered. Maybe, Mia replied, raising her voice. But it's not just me anymore. Ethan glanced behind Mia. Suddenly, uniformed agents swarmed into the light, guns drawn, forming a solid wall at the alley's mouth. Tension crackled in the air, suffocating. Jared could read the danger. His wicked grin transformed into a scowl. This isn't over. You can't have them. He turned on his heel, barking orders at his men, but the agents moved with precision. Cover the exits, and don't let them slip away. One shouted, taking charge as chaos erupted. Ethan's heart raced with a mix of relief and uncertainty. They might have a chance, but what about those still under Jared's sway? What do we do? He asked Mia, urgency steeping his voice. Get to cover, she commanded, gesturing toward a nearby bulkhead, right as the sound of gunfire broke the tension. Go! She yelled, pushing Ethan and Marissa forward. They stumbled toward safety, adrenaline fueling their movements. The chaos faded slightly into the background as Ethan's focus landed squarely on Mia. You just saved our lives. I can't do it alone, she said breathlessly, glancing back as they ducked behind cover. But we need to work together. What do you know about his operation? Ethan's mind fought through the haze of shock. Everything started with a shipment drugs, weapons. It started a war. If we can gather intel, we could take him down for good. Focus on getting out first, she replied, peering cautiously around the edge of the wall as shouting escalated on the other side of the alley. We'll figure out the rest later. Marissa's expressive eyes flickered from Ethan to Mia. I can't believe you were with the FBI this whole time. It's a long story, Mia replied, glancing sideways, urgency etched across her features. But right now, we need to survive. Gunfire resumed, and Ethan felt the weight of his revelations settle in his stomach. He hadn't just been running from Jared's terror, they were now pulled into his wider web of deceit and crime. Let us go. Mia whispered fiercely. As they prepared to dash toward safety, anxiety gnawed at Ethan. Despite the hope bubbling in his chest, dread lingered. Jared wouldn't back down easily. As they sprinted toward the remnants of a nearby building, faster than ever, the sound of a clattering motorbike revved behind them. The game was far from over, and the stakes had just been raised. Get inside. Ethan yelled, urgency spilling from his lips as they reached the door, but just as he reached for the handle, he heard a voice rise above the chaos, a smooth, malignant tone that shattered their moment of relief. You think you can run forever? You're in my territory now. Ethan's heart dropped. They weren't safe yet. Who else had Jared enlisted? Could they truly trust Mia, or was this all just part of another ploy? And in that split second, he felt the chilling grip of danger tightening once more. With heart-pounding urgency, Ethan's world narrowed down to the thunder of footsteps and the swirling chaos enveloping him, Marissa, and Mia. They pressed against the door, adrenaline shooting through their veins as their hearts drummed an erratic rhythm of fear and hope. They had to escape, but freedom felt like an illusion, something that danced just out of reach. Ethan. Marissa's voice cracked, grounding him for a moment. The tenderness in her voice stirred a deep sense of resolve within him, igniting memories of their shared moments, the laughter, the warmth. We can't give up now. With steely determination, Ethan pulled the door open, stepping into the daylight that seemed so serene compared to the storm they were caught in. Everything around them moved in slow motion, fists clenched, eyes locking onto the path ahead. As they spilled out into the street, Ethan glanced back one last time. Jared's silhouette loomed ominously at the alleyway's threshold, eyes blazing with anger. A wave of anxiety swept over Ethan, but he pushed it aside, focusing on getting Marissa and Mia to safety. Go! Ethan urged, propelling them forward as shouts erupted behind them. The streets buzzed with the life of an ordinary day, unaware of the violence lurking just below the surface. He scanned the area. A few cars, storefronts, a sense of escape just ahead. A nearby diner stood out like a beacon. They sprinted toward it, heartbeats matching the chaotic symphony of their precarious situation. In there. We can hide. Ethan shouted, even as the voices of Jared's men echoed behind them. As they burst through the glass doors, the smell of fried food and bleached surfaces enveloped them. They ducked beneath a table at the back, hearts hammering as they tried to catch their breath. The quiet din of the diner felt surreal, a stark contrast to the storm raging just outside. They huddled together, fear swirling in the air, pulsating with uncertainty. Ethan gripped Marissa's hand tightly, eyes searching hers. "We're going to get through this," he promised, though doubts gnawed at him. "We just need to keep moving forward." Mia's gaze was laser-focused, eyes piercing through the panic. "Ethan, we can't stay here long. We need a plan." "But what can we do?" Marissa's voice wavered, sprinkled with desperation. "If they find us then they will," Mia interrupted, firm yet understanding. "But if we act fast and smart, we can turn the tables. I have friends who can help us." "I can't," Marissa whispered, a tear sliding down her cheek. "I can't go back to that life. I can't let them get their hands on me again." Ethan felt a pang for her pain, wanting to erase every shadow that haunted her past. "You're not alone. We'll protect you. I'll protect you." Just then, the door swung open hard, a bell jingling as two figures stepped inside, scanning the room with calculating efficiency. Ethan's gut twisted. Jared had found them. "Stay down," Ethan hissed, eyes darting frantically for any chance of escape. They held their breath as the enforcers approached, their presence heavy like a cloud of darkness. He could sense the shift in the air, the suffocating reality thickening around them. "Let us check the back," one voice said, the casual tone lying ominously against the urgency of their situation. Mia looked at Ethan, determination sharp. "Now or never. We have to go." "Where?" he replied, voice low but tense. Mia's eyes flicked to the kitchen exit, a shared understanding sparking between them. They had to take a leap of faith, a calculated risk to finally seize control of what felt so out of reach. They darted towards the kitchen, the stench of grease and urgency guiding them through the cramped space. In a single quiet moment, they found an exit to the back alley, and Ethan threw the door open. They stumbled out into the alley, fresh air rushing in like a wave of hope, but it was short-lived. The sound of angry voices echoed from the diner, the threat of capture looming ever closer. Ethan took a deep breath. "We can't go back there. We need to find a vehicle." Marissa nodded, unyielding strength emanating from her despite the chaos. "There. A delivery truck." Before he could analyze the risks, they sprinted toward the truck parked by the curb, a fleeting opportunity glittering in the distance. The danger was closing in, footsteps pounding, voices shouting orders. Just as Ethan reached for the handle, he heard Jared's voice booming behind them. "Stop. You're not getting away." In that split second, Ethan flung open the truck door, urgency rising in his throat. "Get in." Marissa leapt inside, and as Mia followed, Ethan turned back for one last look. Jared's furious eyes met his, a silent promise of future encounters. "Go!" he shouted, hopping into the driver's seat and firing up the engine. The truck roared to life, but no one was safe yet. Ethan shifted gears, adrenaline flooding his senses as he slammed on the accelerator. The tires screeched against the pavement as they shot out into the street, danger on their tail like a predator in pursuit. "Keep your heads down," he commanded, focusing on the road ahead, an uncertain path leading toward freedom. As the city unfolded before them, Ethan felt a sense of hope illuminate the shadows closing in. They might be running, but they weren't without strength. Together, they could face whatever came next. With the road stretching out, their past still loomed, but perseverance fueled his every move. In that moment of raw uncertainty, he glanced over at Marissa and Mia, both women embodying fierce resilience. Their eyes glimmered with something more than fear. It was the spark of defiance. "Let us end this," he said, determination anchoring his voice. "We'll uncover the truth and take them down together." And with that pact bound in fear and urgency, they tore away, the horizon alight with the possibility of a new beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of these exclusive stories as they unfold. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this gripping finale. Your engagement makes all the difference, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep this community thriving.